Alright, so what's up everybody? Welcome to this week's video. Today we're going to be talking about KFC. In Chinese or Mandarin we say Kade. If you did not know, KFC is actually the #1 fast food in all of China. It beats out everything else including Domino's, Papa John's, Popeyes, McDonald's. KFC is #1. And for us Americans listening to this video, that might be kind of surprising because we don't really associate KFC in the US with like quality or good food. I don't know anyone at all in my circle that's like, oh, I want to go to KFC today. KFC doesn't really have that reputation in the US anymore. Maybe in the past it did, but nowadays it's not popular whatsoever. So in today's video I want to go over how KFC became so popular in the United States. Second, what they have now that's keeping it popular and how kind of the construct of KFC in China looks. And also me and my girlfriend, we're gonna order some food from KFC itself and we are gonna try it out and let you guys know how it is. Which, and I gotta be transparent, like I've had KFC in China in the past, but I just want to show you guys what the average meal at a Chinese KFC will look like. So let's get into the video. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining today's video. I hope you guys comment, like, and subscribe. I don't want to be that like typical YouTuber that says that, but it really helps me out. This is just a passion project for me. So every video where you guys comment or I get some likes, it means a lot to me. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Kade in China. First off, if you find this video entertaining or educational, you can check out the link in the description. I wrote an entire blog on Medium about this post and a lot of other things about expat life and China in general. So if you're interested, definitely check out the link and let's get into the video. As of 2019, you can find over 5,000 KFC restaurants within 1,100 cities in China, which is just absolutely crazy. Very first KFC opened in Tiananmen Square in 1987. So from 1987 to 2019, there's over 1,000 stores that opened, which is just insane growth. And a lot of this can be attributed to two different factors. One of which is the localization strategy for how to turn an American brand into something that Chinese people can relate with, as well as their globalization strategy, which was actually the first store was to focus on the big city, right? Beijing in Tiananmen Square. There's nothing bigger in China than Tiananmen Square, right? So they opened there and it was extremely expensive prices, actually, that first restaurant. And from 1987 until 1994, KFC wasn't all that successful because the Chinese government really limited their opportunities within China. They weren't able to expand very easily because, and this goes into their globalization strategy, is that they didn't want to franchise out different KFCs. No, the KFC owners wanted to keep their restaurants strictly within their corporation. So instead of giving it out to different Chinese companies to rule their KFCs their own way, they wanted to keep it very uniform. And due to this being an American company, the government didn't really vibe with this. So they put a lot of restrictions on the original KFC restaurants up until 1994. But that original 1987 restaurant was seen really just as a novelty, where the rich Chinese people would go to there just to get a taste of like the American life. It's super expensive. Not a lot of people can afford it. Your average person definitely can't afford it. But these rich families will go there just to, flex their social status. Like, oh, where did you eat today? Oh, I ate at KFC. It's one of those type of things in these beginning days. And we will see throughout this video how that changed. So with this original like novelty of KFC within China, where from 1987 to 1994, where it was just like in Tiananmen Square and that's where the rich people went. Once they finally got some opportunity from the Chinese government to expand, instead of focusing on these big cities, like opening more restaurants in Beijing or opening more restaurants in Shanghai, what they decided to do, which was very smart, was to open more restaurants in medium or smaller cities. And they made the prices way more affordable. So instead of just the rich people being able to attend this restaurant, which is like a very small demographic, they opened the demographic up to a much larger audience. And they still market it as like the American fast food. This is like America's fast food. So the people in China, of course, were very interested in this, especially people who haven't had the opportunity to travel. Maybe, you know, they're just common workers, the middle class, the lower class. They can still go to KFC and get some chicken or get some pies or whatever it may be. And this proved extremely fruitful as they gained a very loyal customer base within the middle class. The lower class still was a little iffy, but the middle class of Chinese society really loved KFC because it was their personal way to be international in their own way. Maybe they can't afford to send their kids to American school, or they can't afford to take a summer vacation to Bali, right? But every weekend maybe they can go and get a 2-piece fried chicken, and they can say, I'm eating American food. And this proved extremely beneficial to the KFC corporation because they were able to build that fan base in this very important middle class, as well as still having that upper class in the big cities, right? Like in Beijing, in the original Tiananmen Square location, as well as in Shanghai or Chengdu or you know, these kind of tier 1 cities. So this is where like the upper class and like the richer people within China in these major cities, they can go to KFC as a kind of like a social status statement in the early days, and they say, yeah, we're eating this, it's wonderful, I'm rich because I can eat this American food. So that's kind of the globalization and moving into a new market that KFC did very well. Possibly even more important than that is how KFC handled the internationalization of their company, or the localization, I should say. The localization of KFC within China was an absolute masterclass. So if they want to appeal to the Chinese person, right, their main demographic isn't going to be the rich people that can travel to the US, their kids go to school in the US, that they are accustomed to eating just American food. That is not going to be their demographic. Sure, they can, once a month, they're going to spend 1,000 RMB or like $130 on KFC. But what most of their money is going to come from is from that middle class, from that lower class, where the people go there as a special treat, maybe once a week. So how did they do this? Instead of just having the American options of, you know, fried chicken sandwich. Hello, Yumi. She's right here. Hey, baby, say hello. Yes. Instead of just having these American options, they offered foods that, still within correlation of the KFC taste, also benefited Chinese tongues as things that Chinese people were used to. So an example of this that I'll put up on the screen is something called like a dragon twister, which is like 2 fried chicken strips, like tenders, within a roll with like some sweet sauce and cucumbers and pickled vegetables and things like that. That's just one example where this is like a food that the Chinese people, maybe they eat on the street corner. They eat that at like a little food vendor. But instead now they can get it at KFC, which has a KFC chicken, which is really famous, kind of a social status if you can eat this. So another localization item was like there's different crepe variations. A lot of the street foods within China. So actually, I remember what it's called. It's called jianbing, and this kind of food is really, really popular on like streets and like outside of bars, outside of restaurants, whatever, right? So they took this and made it their own, and with like KFC fried chicken or KFC sauces or whatever it may be. And so they're taking this street food that's super synonymous with like the Chinese middle class, the lower class, and they're fusing it with this American food, which makes the American food less individualized and really moves it into like this localization property where the Chinese people can relate with it. They say, oh, this is special to China because it's jinbing, right? I can eat this while it's also American, and it gives it some like really special flair to these customers, which has proved extremely beneficial to KFC within China, as well as just like rice plates. They do like baked chicken or fried chicken just with rice and vegetables. This is like, obviously, you know, rice within China is absolutely huge. So what's better than some KFC fried chicken with some rice and vegetables? If you want an example, I'm not going to cover it today, it's for a different video, but if you want to find an example of how localization can be done absolutely horribly, you can check out when Disney opened their very first amusement park within France. It was a absolute disaster. So you should definitely check that out, because KFC right here, in terms of in China, the localization is picture perfect, pristine. They fucking handle it exactly how you need to. But if you're interested in the exact opposite, definitely do some research on that. It's really, really interesting. But yeah, so nowadays in KFC holds 11.6% of the market share of fast food within China, blasting way ahead of the second place McDonald's, which only holds 5.6% of that market share. This is the most recent data that I could find on the subject, which is from about 2017, I believe. And the thing is that KFC has continued since 2017 to absolutely blow past the competition. And one of the ways that they've done this is throughout the COVID times within China, which was about 2020 to the end of 2022, they had their own delivery service. Instead of having to go through a DD app or a Meituan or Weimai or the Uber Eats of China, you could just go onto KFC app specifically and order KFC to your house, just like you would at a pizza place in the US, which really helped propel them in front of a lot of competitors. Especially places, McDonald's has the same thing, but McDonald's has never been able to line up with KFC. KFC has always been ahead of McDonald's in China, which I think is so interesting. And you might expect like a big price tag at the end of this delivery. When you think of Uber Eats, you're thinking like a $10 delivery fee plus fees, right? Plus other fees. In KFC delivery, they charge 9 RMB for delivery, which is a $1 delivery fee. A $1. Imagine that. If we had $1 delivery fees in the United States, we would be ordering food every single day. Every day. But that's how KFC has been able to push its way to the top. That's just one way. So, throughout those extensive lockdowns within the pandemic, KFC remained at the top because people can't go out, they can't go to the grocery store, they don't want to go to the grocery store, they don't want to cook. So what are they gonna do? If they want a little cheap meal, a sneaky snack, they're gonna fucking order KFC for $1 delivery and get a 2-piece. Because why not? It tastes good and it's cheap. That is how KFC got to the top in China. And I can say, personally, I am an avid Popeyes supporter. I fucking hate KFC in the US. I don't know one person in the US that would go to KFC of their own free will. Not one person. But within China, it's a little different. I'm not a big KFC fan still, but there are some good items there. There are some things that, I think taste pretty good. And Popeyes is very hard to find in China. They got one in Shanghai, they have one in Guangzhou, they have one in Beijing, and that's it. And you bet when I went to fucking Shanghai, I got some Popeyes. But that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is, even someone who absolutely fucking hates KFC, it's pretty good in China. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching the video up until this point. If you guys are interested in this kind of content where I cover China, Chinese businesses, China culture, as well as just general expat tips and living abroad, definitely check out my YouTube channel. My Medium, like I said, is in the description as well.